Hello, hi, and welcome to the first ever episode of Wellness in the Workplace, the podcast. My name is Pearl Mngomezulu, and I am your host. I'm very excited to be bringing you the first ever episode of this podcast, and I have an amazing guest joining me in studio today to unpack the topic of mentorship. As I mentioned in our trailer, Wellness in the Workplace, the podcast, is all about providing the insight and tools to navigate challenging workplace dynamics. And my guest here is very experienced, a seasoned professional, and has quite a bit of insight to give when it comes to the topic of mentorship. I do want to say that I have had the pleasure of getting to know her on a professional and a personal level, and she is unofficially my mentor. And she came in my life and my career at a time where I really just needed, that redirection and refocusing when it comes to my professional life. And through our conversations, through her connections and her guidance, it put me back right on the path and reminded me why I fell in love with marketing in the first place. I'd like to welcome Pearl Mngomezulu to Wellness in the Workplace. Hello.
Hey, Mbali, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
I'm so excited about this, and well done on this
you.
journey. This is so exciting.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thank you for being my first ever guest. Absolute honor to have you in studio today. Okay. But before we dive into the topic, I'd like for you, please give the viewers, our listeners, just an overview of your career background and who Pearl Mngomezulu actually is.
So, Mbali, thank you so much for having me over. And I think what you're doing here is a great job and great topic to dig into. And I hope that you're going to have like an amazing journey doing this. So just talking about who I am and where I've come from. I am a marketer, like a passionate marketer.
Through and through.
I have lived marketing. I've been influenced by marketing. I have influenced, a few people through the
That's
marketing.
Me. I'm one of those people.
And I've been doing marketing for a few decades, and what I've loved about being in marketing is that I have been able to learn something new almost every time I get into a new project, learn about how people think, what makes them buy, why they buy, and how they buy, and the whole journey. But also just what it's helped me to do is recognize how stunning it is to be a people watcher. I think if you are in marketing and you don't like people, you're going to have a hard time because it's all about people. People in whatever positions they are, people who are little people, people who are big people, who actually help people buy through the value chain, right? So little girl can influence mom, little boy can influence dad, and the car you drive could be influenced, any of that kind of stuff. That's the stuff we do, right? Yeah. What you wear, the makeup you have on right now, everything you do is so influenced by the work we do. And that for me is exactly what drives me. And that's who I am. That's what I'm about.
No, she's definitely a marketer through and through. Like, I have not met anyone as passionate as you when it comes to marketing. And I think that's why when we started this unofficial mentorship journey, it was easy to just connect with you because it just reminded me, number one, of why I fell in love with marketing, but also just inspired me, right, to just go after what I want when it comes to marketing. And that speaks to your mentorship, actually, and the topic of today's episode. So, in your view, what would you define as mentorship?
There's this chasm, or shall I say bridge, between coaching and mentorship for me. So to some degree, you unofficially coach someone when you can see that they have a direction to take, and with they may not be seeing themselves, because sometimes we're so filled with whatever other people are thinking of us, and we're reacting to the environments that we're a part of, that we start to not believe in ourselves. So someone who's a mentor is someone who helps you to see yourself for who you are, and to help you direct where you are going. Whereas a coach might unravel other opportunities and things like that. So there's a level of coaching in mentorship, but there's a lot more of a sense of like, I see you, and I literally, you are this piece of coal and there's a diamond in there, and I'm just going to help you kind of remove the, you know, the hard parts, the parts that aren't shining, the dark parts that are, you know, not pulling through as this glistening, divine, gorgeous diamond that you are. And I think that's essentially what mentorship is.
Okay, okay. All right. I've never heard it described that way, but I will run with that analogy from today. And just going on to the next question, what role do you think mentorship plays in one's career development?
For me, it's played a huge role. I think there have been times when I have also felt like you did, where I thought, so I studied this thing, I can't seem to see where I'm going, and what the books said this was versus what I'm experiencing are completely different things. And then someone came along and said, actually, come work with me. I have I see potential in you. And from then on, I started running, you know, and I wasn't just walking. I literally was crawling when that person met me. But once she had unraveled the mess of what I had thought was marketing and being disillusioned by marketing, I was able to, you know, kind of redirect and really live my truth. So that's the role that it plays, that I feel like it has it's almost like a navigation system.
Yes.
So especially if you know where you want to go, you put in the space where you want to go, and someone says to you, turn left, turn right, and do this and do that, in a way that is actually not necessarily trying to steer you away from where you want to go. You know, that's the role of mentorship that I see.
Okay. So you touched on actually a question I was going to ask you slightly a bit later, but I think since your answer somehow covered it, the process of finding a mentor or selecting a mentor, how does it work? Because, you know, in some instances, or what I've read or what I've seen, has said that you need to actively go out and find yourself a mentor, or does a mentor actually find you? I think in our case, we found each other. We found each other. And I think for someone who really just doesn't know where to start, who doesn't know what to even say when approaching a mentor, because I find that with a lot of young professionals, and I'll be more specific, young Black professionals, they don't understand the role of mentorship and what it can do for them in their careers. And secondly, they don't even know how to approach, you know, seasoned professionals like yourself to say, look, I'm struggling with ABC. How can you help me? So how do you find a mentor, or does a mentor find you?
So, Mbali, I think that's actually an interesting question, because you and I, we found each other, right? And it was very organic.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the best ways to actually find a mentor, is for young people to find someone that they can actually talk to about not just work.
Yes.
And I think that's what happened with you and I. So we started talking about your ambitions. We started talking about just generally your life. And then as we started talking about that, we got a sense of, okay, so there's an opportunity for this. And I think when someone is a mentor, they should be able to observe and see the opportunity for someone. And like, I know at that time you were thinking, I'm thinking of going off to Korea and teaching English.
Oh my God. Yes,
And-
yes. I can't believe I thought that once. But yes, that was a thing. That was a thing.
And I remember thinking to myself, here's this young lady that I listen to on calls when we're actually talking about projects and stuff. And she's so articulate and
Oh my
she's so
God.
amazing. And why the heck would she want to do something, move away from something she's so good at?
Yeah.
And I don't think you saw that in yourself.
No, I
And sometimes
didn't.
that's what happens, right?
I think I lost sight of that.
Yes.
When I started in the corporate world, that was my thing, and I was very confident and very comfortable in that.
Yeah.
But after a few managers, bosses, that self-doubt started creeping in,
Yeah.
and almost settling for just the norm and not challenging myself or challenging the boundaries to take things to the next level. And you just resurfaced that. But yeah, I interjected there, so I'll let you
No,
continue.
it's cool because I think what that does is help maybe somebody who's going through something similar to this be able to say, oh, wait, I'm going through this. I fell in love with this profession. And then somebody else told me I was no good.
Yep.
Or somebody made me feel like I wasn't important or making an impact on any of that. And so this is where, as the corporate world and as employees in general, because remember, as a mentor, I'm also an employee, right?
Yes,
As
yes.
employees in general, what we need to do is to stop breaking other people.
Oof.
And sometimes it is that breaking other people that breaks their trajectory.
Yes.
And I think that's part of what people should look for in mentorship.
Yep.
Someone kind.
Yeah.
Don't go for the person who's at the top,
Yep.
but not in touch with what's going on with the world. Because sometimes people get to the top because they are just so brilliant that everybody's like seeing this shining person, but they've not gone through the difficulties in life. They actually can't tell you, okay, look, corporate is a jungle.
Yeah.
And in this jungle, there are certain ways you need to behave. There's a collective of this world of animals, like in, if you think of the Serengeti, let's say you were watching a pride of lions. There's an order, there's a way things work. And if someone doesn't guide you to do that, you will keep on thinking to yourself, I'm constantly the kudu.
Yeah.
I'm the antelope constantly running.
I'm trying to be the lion.
I want to get into the front. Actually, I am the lion.
I am the lion.
But I'm
Yeah.
starting to see myself as whatever. So you need to have you can't always be going for the for Simba.
Yes.
Simba.
That's true.
Yes, Simba was always like in the space of like he's experienced some difficulties, but there are some top dogs that have never known what it's like to move up
that
the
way.
ranks.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you have to when you choose your mentor, choose someone that you know has been through some difficulties.
Sure.
Choose someone who you know could have empathy for the times when you fall, because I think that was possibly what also connected us, is
Yes.
that when I spoke to you and I told you about my really dark days and the
Yep.
times that I've fallen and the challenges I've faced
Yep.
along my journey, you were able to say, oh, okay.
There's a real person behind the title and the accolades.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's been a journey, right? It
Yeah.
didn't just happen. I didn't just get to the top. It took time. It took a lot of pain, and it took a lot of practice, right? So all of this enabled me to observe other people so that I could play the role of mentor. But that's also what mentees need to start looking out for.
Yeah.
Is look at somebody who's not just gotten to the top because, well, I'm 26 and I'm the CEO of blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, that's great. That person may have gone through a journey, but if they just landed that, how are they mentoring you? Because you can find a 50-year-old who's also had a very smooth path to CEO.
Yep.
And they're like, Yeah,
And
like
they
I can't relate to your
Yeah.
problems.
You're actually touching on one of the questions I wanted to ask in terms of relatability and relatability at different levels, right?
Yeah.
And I'll always politicize this because I'm a black woman, and by virtue of me being in the skin
Yeah.
and being this gender,
Yeah.
I am showing up in some form of politics, you know?
Yeah.
So how important is it to look at relatability even at that level? Because as a young black professional or as a young black woman in a corporate world, right? I experience a different dynamic to my white counterparts. Very different experience of being in corporate and navigating corporates and climbing up the corporate ladder. So is that something that I should really prioritize when I'm selecting a mentor? Someone who looks like me, someone who represents me, and someone who can relate to my story and my challenges. Is that something that's important?
No.
No.
I know this is.
I think this is the
Honestly,
most controversial answer.
Yeah.
Why?
I'll tell you why. Because actually, I've had a few mentors who were white males
Oh my God.
who have lifted me up, who saw my value, who were able to say to me, "You're talented," but say for instance, there was an ad, and he's like, "Look at this. What's the headline saying? Where are things sitting? Where's the logo? Where's the call to action? What's the message? What are you trying to say to me?" And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. And I'm thinking he's being hard on me. And what he's saying is, you're here to be a professional. You're
Facts.
here to do your job properly.
Facts.
You are here to actually excel at it. So I'm going to show you. I may seem hard on you at this point in time, but I'm going to show you. So I look at this, and then I know the next time I need to come back to you, sir, I'm going to have
You need
checked
to
the
step up.
headline. I'm going to,
You need to step up.
And then the next time he sees something else, and it's like, you can't think in the box. I showed you these 3 steps. I wanted you to take it a step further. Now look further. So now you can imagine, for me, that was so incredible, because it was something that, they always talk about, think outside the box.
Yeah.
I then got to really experience what think outside the box looks like. Is that, yes, I've got these steps to take, but what else could I consider? What else could I look at? What could I add that is me, authentically me? Because let's say I'm doing an ad about and the emerging market, and maybe it's a township culture or blah, blah, blah. He can't see.
You can't see that.
Right?
Yeah.
So that becomes my opportunity also to say, what's missing is, this is what the township is like. This will not be relatable to someone who's coming from the township. This looks very, to be politically incorrect, whitewashed. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I think that's some of the stuff that, for me, my first mentor, who was this white male, was able to actually show me and give me the confidence to say, I'm sorry, but this doesn't align to the target audience. So if we're saying marketing is about customer centricity, then if this doesn't talk to the customer that I'm trying to talk to, then I need to be the advocate for the customer and say, they won't relate. They won't relate. So yes, maybe the words make sense, but...
And it's aligned to the brand.
and it's aligned to the brand, but is it their words or is it our words? So all of that kind of stuff. And because of that, for me, it felt like this guy didn't see my race, he saw my talent.
Sure.
He didn't see my gender, he saw my talent.
Sure.
And I think the most important thing is, even when you look for mentors, look for people who are looking for talent. And you can tell when someone is all about that, like, you a black girl, you trouble, you whatever. You can tell, right? We need to trust our instincts and trust our perceptions. Yeah. Because unless that's what you put first.
True.
Because that can be, if that's a filter, then you could miss opportunities. So if you use that as a filter to your question, you may actually miss opportunities.
Okay. Would it then be advisable to have than different mentors.
Yes.
So one that really just looks at your talent, at your, professional aspirations, and one that truly sees you. Because I think the thing that makes our relationship so great is that I don't have to compartmentalize everything. I don't have to. It's me coming as I am and being seen and recognized in the facet of a professional, the facet of being a young Black woman, the facet also of my personal life, and how that speaks to who Mbali is holistically. So if you don't have, the luck of finding someone like yourself, or of having a mentor and mentee relationship like ours, would it then be advisable to seek out different mentors for different things?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I personally have quite a few mentors.
Okay.
I've
only heard of one, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you have a lot more.
No, seriously, I have a few mentors. Some unofficial. Some of them don't know they're my mentors.
Okay.
But obviously, because I bounce ideas off of them, and I will be like, this is what I'm thinking about. This is where I want to go. And the person will be like, that sounds like a terrible idea. And I'll be like, why? And then like you're chasing the opportunity, but will you be able to add value to the opportunity? And then there's other people, like my mom, who'll be like, my mom doesn't understand my personal ambitions from like what this career is about. My mom's in a different profession to where I am, but she will say to me, if you're not being true to yourself, you're not going the right direction. Oof. And if it makes you unhappy, it makes me unhappy. So she's that person who knows how ambitious I am, but can also rein me in and be like, looks like you're taking the wrong street. you know? Yeah. And then also there's those who are more professional, who are able to say to me, to the point that I made around the corporate jungle and the fact that we're in the Serengeti, and considering how the dynamics of corporate are, and how sometimes you may have a different viewpoint to your leader, and how to navigate that. And that, you need to still understand there's an ecosystem and there's a way to behave, and don't step out of that, and sometimes you think, no, but I'm a revolutionist. I'm going to be Che Guevara. I must tell these people what time it is.
Do that when I started in the corporate world. I honestly thought I was going to revolutionize corporate South Africa. But like you said, it is an ecosystem. And it's really just about understanding that ecosystem, understanding how to navigate that as well. So just going to the next question, how do you think someone can tell or should tell that they need a mentor? Because sometimes it's not something you're aware of, that I need a mentor. So what are the telling signs? What do you think people would be experiencing or feeling at the time to indicate that maybe you need some guidance, maybe you need some coaching, maybe you need some mentorship?
I mean, let's start with your idea. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
The minute that you decide that you want to walk away from a career you've worked hard to be a part of, and you're feeling frustrated and you're feeling like you just keep banging your head against the wall, is when you need to start to get a different perspective. You need to get someone who can actually be able to interrogate some of the things you think you don't like anymore. And maybe what it is you don't like the environment. Maybe what it is that you don't like the people within that environment. So maybe to shift yourself from that and be able to still keep your career. So, there's that's really quite an important thing. And when you start being frustrated with feeling stuck, like I feel like I'm only ever gonna stay here, and I'm seeing other people enjoying the fruits of this so-called wonderful career, and I'm not seeing myself taking participating in this like enjoying this juice, that's the time when you need to think to yourself, oh my gosh, who can I speak to who might be able to relate? So yeah, I think that's when you start to do it. And I think there's a lot of young people who are going through that right now, where it's like, I've just started my career, I had this big picture, and it just so happens that I only go and make coffee for my boss, and I'm not learning much about this profession I thought I was going to learn. Or I find myself having to play PA because as a Black woman, what happens is I get relegated to this. And remember, mentorship can also not just have to be with a person. You could read a book. You could watch a podcast like this one. You could, get a show. So there might be some people who feel like, I'm an introvert and I don't know how to actually reach out to people. And so what can I do? So there are different ways for people to actually start reaching out to a mentor, reach out through a book or whatever the case might be.
Okay. So I really like that. And I think you just touched on a point that I just wanted to ask earlier as well, that who is responsible for driving a mentor and mentee relationship?
The mentee.
Always the mentee.
Yeah, so think about it. I need help. As a patient, let's say I'm sick. I go to a doctor. I start that conversation. I go to the doctor. The doctor then says to me, here's the medication. I take it or I don't. I get better or I don't. And it's up to me to be the person that actually then does that. Of course, there'll be times when the doctor says, you're not getting better. Let's rethink how we then structure this challenge you're facing. So then it becomes, and I think the most important thing between the mentee and the mentor is be honest with each other. I think the biggest conversations, the best conversations I've had have been those times when I've been able to say, actually, what you said I should do didn't work. It completely sucked. It's not natural to me. I don't know how to do this. So can we work around something that's more suited to my personality, more suited to how I actually can be authentic in delivering, the next phase of my career. So that's why I say it's got to be the mentee, because you know where you are.
True.
You know that you're not, what the mentor is offering is not working. And you need to be able to then go back and say, but this isn't working because XXX, or I did it this way and I tweaked it my own way and I did that and I brought this in and I did, so the journey is yours. And if you don't own the journey, then somebody else is going to redirect you because they're thinking, do you know what? I actually see other potential in you. And sometimes what that might mean is you might benefit me better if you did that.
I see.
Which is why it's important for the mentee to drive it, because this is your life, right? Own it.
Own it. And I agree with that. I agree. So in closing, with regards to just, our topic, I just found a new mentor. I am starting out in my career and we are about to have our first session. What questions should I ask my mentor?
So is this a career mentor?
It's a career mentor.
Okay.
So this is a career mentor. I have stepped into, a new field, fresh out of varsity, and I just want to know, how do I navigate this new job, this new role, this new environment that I'm in? What do I ask my mentor?
I mean, first of all, this is personal, right? So I would ask something like, tell me more about what this career is all about. What is the journey? And help me to understand the time that it takes and the commitment that I need to make to get to where I need to get to.
Okay.
And then I also need to be able to say, this is where I want to get to. even if it might sound ridiculous. I mean, I've just stepped out of varsity, I've got my degree, and I say, I want to be a CMO. So understand, like you say, you navigate, it's a journey. So you say to your mentor, I want to be a CMO. I understand it's a journey. What do I need to do? What is my focus to get to CMO? So I'm obviously speaking as a marketer, right?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
that's
going to look different for different fields,
yeah.
right?
So if you're an engineer, if you're, you know, a lawyer,
Yeah.
whatever it is that you are, I want to, you know, be partner. I want to make partner. I want to blah, blah. Say that. Don't be afraid. And that will actually help you understand whether that's the right mentor or not.
Okay.
Because
and how so?
If I say fresh out of varsity, I want to be partner, I want to make partner, I want to make whatever, and you go, really? Like, just start at the bottom. Can't you see?
Yeah.
Sweep the floors.
Yeah.
So we all started at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's a person who's already thinking to put you in a box and not see you as someone who's got a journey to take, and that everybody gets to want to be at the top.
Yeah.
You know, and so for me, it was like, I can speak to that because I remember saying, I want to be in marketing, and I applied for a marketing assistant job. And as I was doing that marketing assistant job, these guys actually wanted me to do sales. And when I was like, but this is not marketing, they were like, you don't understand what marketing, it's the same thing. And I was like,
no, it's not.
Then you clearly don't understand what my career is and what it is I want to do with my career. And they were working very hard to remind me that, like, I'm being silly. You know, my journey and my desires are not worthy of considering, because like I said to you earlier on, that person might think, I want to use you for my purposes, and so therefore you should rather take this route. So that's, you know, start with those big questions. Start with the, like, my pipe dream is, so that you can assess whether that person will actually help you along the path.
Okay, that's a big starting point, but it's a good starting point.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Yeah. So I want to go into some bonus questions before we wrap up this episode, just to make things a bit lighter.
Yeah.
Because this was a serious conversation, but a very important one at that. So what podcast or video, book or article have you listened to or read that shifted your perspective on work? And how did it shift your perspective on work?
There's so many that I do. And it's interesting. So there's a podcast by Krista Tippett called On Being.
Okay.
But Krista particularly talks about spiritual things, and then she gets into some political elements, and you know, so it's her first question is always, what religion were you when you were younger, and how did that influence you? And then she goes into the person's professional life, etc. How that changed me is, she had a guest on her show once, and he was talking about how in life you crawl, then you walk, then you run.
Okay.
And how it shifted my perspective was, I wanted to get into this place and run. And I didn't understand that actually growing within a work environment takes some level of crawling, some level of walking, and some level of running. You're going to burn yourself out if you run the whole time. Oof. So that's the
that one. Okay. And what does wellness in the workplace look like for you?
So I think when you work with like-minded individuals, and you work with people who are as passionate about that line of work that you're in. So for us, it would be people who are passionate about marketing, and people who are like, I remember a particular job where every Monday we had status, right?
Yeah.
And on Monday, I'm coming in with an ad. This is what the competitor did over the weekend.
Yeah.
This is what I'm seeing. And we're talking about this. And it becomes, so what we do is we love what we do, right?
Yeah.
We all love what we do.
Yeah.
And there's only a few people that are like, I hate it here. So it's not a room full of I hate it here, right?
Yeah.
So that for me is what wellness is that we're all like here, and it's like, oh, this is such a delicious place to be. Oh my God, guys, we're gonna be doing an ad. What are we gonna do? Who's in this? Let's all do this, and we're all excited about it, and we're all talking about it, and there's no sense of like us competing against each other and trying to sabotage each other.
Yeah. Okay, that's very important. Really important. And then the last question: what are the 3 things that you would tell your younger self about work and being a professional in corporate South Africa?
I would say, young Pearl, be patient, be collaborative, and make sure that you understand that kindness is a superpower.
Okay.
Because seriously, when you are kind to your service providers, your colleagues, and all the people that you work with within the ecosystem, they are more open, more able to also support you and help you do more. So then you don't look like competition. You don't look like somebody who's trying to eat someone's breakfast. And so then it makes it a lot more collaborative.
Yeah. Okay. I like the last point, because we rarely hear people say that you need to be kind in the corporate space.
Yeah.
It's about getting to the top, and the how you do it is always questionable, right?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to get that perspective. Any closing remarks in closing this episode?
So I'm really proud of the work that you're doing.
Oh my God.
I really think that you're starting a conversation that is long overdue. And I know you've got a long way to go.
Oh my God.
And you're going to open so many eyes, and I hope that lots more people listen to this than the people I'm going to be telling to listen to this as well. So I think this is a really great journey that you're going to take. It's probably going to stretch you more than you know. And I think you've made the right decision.
Oh, thank you so
done.
much. Oh, guys. Okay, this was very emotional. Thank you so much, Pearl. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And just thank you for living in the fullness of your light, because that inspired me to do that.
Awesome.
So thank you for tuning in to the first episode of Wellness in the Workplace. My name is Mngomezulu, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Ciao.